What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, consider liking, subscribing if you like what you see. You guys that are returning or subscribed, thank you for the support. As usual, we're gonna get into it. I guess you guys are probably all wondering what's in the box.
What's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's in
gun.
the fucking box?
So this is the first time I've done a unboxing. I might do a few more, you know, if you guys like this kind of thing. Typically, I'm not a stranger to buying used guns. I'm not afraid of that, or building my own. AKs is something I don't usually build on my own. So anyway, we're gonna get into it. So this thing is something that I've had my eye on, kind of thought about getting for quite some time. I just never, I don't know, things just never really played out. So this thing, yeah, we're gonna get into it, and I'm gonna show you what I've got in here. We've got a brand new Romanian AES10B2. Yes, the AES10B2. So if you're not really familiar, that's kind of a mouthful. What the AES10B or the 10B2 is, it's essentially an RPK. If you don't know what an RPK is, it's basically a squad automatic rifle. Obviously this one is semi-automatic only because of goofy laws, but either way, you got the much longer barrel. This thing is about 23.5 inches to be exact. A lot of people will round it up or round it down, 23, 24, whatever, but either way, significantly longer than your typical AKM. You might notice we have the bulge front trunnion here, and the receiver is 1.5 millimeters thick instead of the standard 1 millimeter that you'll find on a standard AKM. So you might be asking yourself, why the long name, the AES10B2, you know, versus just calling it an RPK or whatever the Romanian military calls it. And basically, it's the AES is it's basically an import name. So it's automatic, elector, semi-automatic. So let's see. The 10 refers to, basically these are imported into the country with a smaller mag well to hold 10 round mags, much like you hear with the Wasser 10s. So these are imported. Romanian or Century Arms cuts out the mag well to accept standard magazines. The B indicates the heavier or more robust nature of the rifle, the heavier barrel, all that stuff. The 2 just indicates, like the AES10B and the 10B2, the 2 just indicates just through goofy ATF stuff, Century needed to import a new batch and they needed to resubmit a version to be able to be imported, and that's just the nomenclature they had to put on there because this is slightly different than the AES10B. So it's just the current batch that's coming in, if you will. So in the box, obviously, you've got the rifle, you got your manual, don't really need that. You'll have this little tag on here, and you can go ahead and get rid of that. And obviously we've got our chamber flag in here. We're gonna keep that in here for now, just for safety's sake. They do come with a US Palm magazine. This one I've kind of painted up, but it'll be like this, it'll be black. Mine is gone. I think I gave it to a customer that came into the store. I believe we got like a Wasser or something like that, and it happened to not ship with a magazine. You know, I want to take care of my customers, so I just gave them my magazine out of this because I don't really need it, and I don't usually run polymer magazines if I can help it because these are not steel reinforced. And before we start going over and inspecting some of the things on the rifle, we'll just go tip to butt, you know. We've got our standard slant brake here, 14x1 threads, so it should take all of our standard AKM muzzle devices, whatever, what have you. We've got our bipod on here. This thing is, I mean, I guess it's nice for the aesthetics. So there's this little clip thing here. You got to kind of unhook that. This comes open, and as you notice, it does not swing forward. You'll have to keep this pinched together, then swing it forward, and then deploy it. You'll have to do the reverse process to bring it back up here. And it is not the easiest thing. but you can get that clip back on there and keep that stowed away. I don't know, with this heavier barrel, typically you don't want to rest anything on the barrel when you're shooting. It can affect your shots at distance. This being a thicker barrel, I don't know if that's going to affect it that much or not, but we'll find out later. But we do have a very, very thick, with 2 Qs thick barrel on here, because again, this thing was originally supposed to be a machine gun, so it's supposed to be for some sustained fire, blah 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 blah. We've got the typical Century crappy balsa wood, I think is what it is. Very blonde color, not too crazy about that myself, but we'll probably change that in the future. I think it's cool they did include the carry handle gang here. Got that. But these handguards, they will not interchange with AKM, so if you do want to change these out for something, you are going to have to get something that is RPK specific. From there, of course, we have our aforementioned thicker receiver. You can kind of see the bulge front trunnion. Not really different. I mean, it is heavy, as it should be, being a machine gun, a little bit more end heavy than normal, but no big deal, it's not that bad. Have our standard 2-position selector. It's not too bad, not too stiff. I'll probably tweak it a little bit later, but it's definitely better than some of the other Wassers I've seen come, brand new. We've got our standard AKM peg grip, really small for my big hand, so that'll definitely be changed. We have our little clubfoot style stock for the RPK. I could stand for this thing to be a couple inches longer. We could all stand to get a couple extra inches, right guys? But it is a Warsaw packed length, so it is rather short, but it's what you would expect from a com block type rifle. So go back to that barrel. This thing is a cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. You will probably never in your life wear this thing out. You will probably wear out some stuff in the receiver and stuff before you wear out this barrel. This thing is gonna last forever. Right closer here for you guys. So one thing you might notice here, we've got our RPK rear sight. So if you notice, you've got some notches here and stuff. So this thing, you just pull this out and rotate that. You can actually adjust your windage back here. Aside from like on a standard AKM, you would have to push the drum left or right. I did notice the front sight post. You can kind of see it there. It is a standard AKM, a little bit thicker than normal, or a normal RPK, I should say. RPKs typically, because of this rear sight, they typically have a skinnier front sight, which is a little bit nice. So I mean, later on I can always change that out. But so under the hood, that I did think it was pretty nice. So this is not your typical, like you have the 2 little wire loops that kind of collapse on each other. This is it's got a basically steel rod that goes inside of this steel tube, so this is a much more rigid, probably robust recoil spring assembly. Get our safety off, pull our carrier out. It's typical AKM style carrier. I will say, if you guys plan on doing like a K&S Precision adjustable gas tube, I believe Century, this is a US made piston, not the carrier, just the piston, due to what do they call it, 922R compliance. So it's a US part here. I believe Century, in their infinite wisdom, welded these things in because they're idiots. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a job to swap this out. So under the hood here, we've got our standard, as I mentioned, standard safety. They do not, let me see, this actually is a full auto cut safety. But anyway, we've got our standard trigger here. We have the infamous shepherd's hook. So I suggest changing those things. They're definitely not great. I prefer a plate, so that thing will get thrown in the trash pretty soon. Okay, we're gonna go into some fine details. I'm gonna show you guys kind of what to look for if you're buying an RPK or a new AK, and it doesn't really matter whether it's milled receiver, stamped receiver, doesn't matter the nationality. It's just things to look for before you buy. Typically, I want to say, because this is Romanian, and the Romanian guns typically have the reputation of having, the front sights. A lot of people say, oh, it's the front sights that are canted. Romanian guns are notorious for not just the front sight being canted, but the gas blocks and the rear sights. So I'll take you through this thing and we'll spot any things that you guys can look for later. First thing, and one of the easiest things I think of to be able to tell whether your rear sight is canted is back here on the trunnion, the front trunnion. So the rear sight tower is going to sit in that. And I don't know if I can capture this, but there is a little bit of a gap over here. I can almost put my fingernail in it. And on this side, there is no gap. So obviously, this rear sight is canted a little bit over to the left. Granted, the rear sight tower doesn't have a lot of room to go, but still, I mean, when you're talking, this thing sits right over the chamber. If this is canted, that's, even if your front sight's straight at distance, you're probably gonna see some issues versus where you're zeroed. Say if you are zeroed at 100 yards, at 200 yards, you might see that it's shooting a little to the left, a little to the right, because yeah, if your sights are all wonky and you're trying to get your round to line up with that, it's going to line up at your zero, and then past that it's going to be off, given what direction your sights are canted. So we're going to move on to front sight. So just want to point this out. I don't know if you guys see this. There's like a little burr right here from one of the sight pins being pushed in. Not a big deal. I'll probably take that off with a file or something. But generally with these things, you can literally just, and we still got our chamber flag, just like I mentioned before. You can kind of look down it, and it does look like the front sight is canted over to the right. So at distance, I don't know how well this thing's gonna do with iron sights. Probably still zero them, but the goal ultimately is to put an optic on here, and thank God we do have a side rail, so I can do that, or I can put some sort of rail dust cover on here. But if you cannot honestly tell that your front sight is canted much before you go and try and zero, there is a way. It might not be off bad enough to really make a huge difference, but one of the surefire ways to check it is something that I learned taking a class from Rifle Dynamics when I built an AK there. You will have to probably take your handguards off. This bipod on this thing is going to probably prove to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to try and do this, so I'm probably not going to do it with this one. But anyway, take your handguards off, set this receiver on a flat surface, and get yourself a square. And what I mean by a square, like a carpenter's tool, where it'll be like an L shape or even a triangle shape, and you will put that also on that flat surface, butt it up against the barrel, and you can see, and you'll want to do it from both sides, and you can see if it's canted left or right. Like I say, this one is definitely canted left, which is really cool because my rear sight is canted to the right. Okay, so I've got a fair amount of magazines out here. They're all unloaded, but we're just going to go over magazine fitment on this thing. I'm hoping it fits pretty much everything, so let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and take the chamber flag out just in case, and we're going to start on the mags. All right, first and foremost, we've got our Romanian 40 round RPK mag. So we're going to try and get this guy in here. It didn't snap in, but went in relatively easy. Yeah, that one seems to be pretty good. All right, we got a few variations of steel magazines. This one is a Russian AES10B2 round. Let's get that guy. Yeah, seems to lock. Yeah, there we go. That thing locked in pretty good. Now we have a Serbian steel magazine. So this has got, you guys might know them as Yugo mags. It does have the bolt hold open follower. That guy is pretty tight in there, but looks like she's locked in. And then we've got this sweet Chinese flatback 30 round. She's, oh, yep, there we go. Not even snapped in, so that one's pretty good. Let's go on to some other mags. All right, we got a couple cheap polymer mags here. We got P-Mag, and we have this Artifact, this Tapco magazine. P-Mag first, went in really good. Honestly, that's probably one of the better fitting magazines. That doesn't necessarily excite me because I don't really like those things. So Tapco. That one's a little bit snug, get locked in, but still locks in just fine. Let's go on to some of the cooler mag. Next, we're going to try that US Palm, which it'd be a shame if this didn't fit, seeing as that's what they ship with. Same thing, didn't really snap in place, but locked in relatively easy. And yeah, let's keep going. All right, everybody's favorite, Bakelite. This is a Tula Bakelite. Butter. That thing was awesome. Yep, that one works really good. Bulgarian Circle 10. So sometimes these things fit kind of tight in guns. So honestly, that fit pretty good. Snaps in pretty good. So yeah, I'd have to say overall, the Bulgarian Circle 10s are probably my favorite magazines. Just that you can get at the moment for not crazy prices, because they're not necessarily surplus, but they are super tough magazines, and they're a lot lighter than steel mags. You don't have to worry about them getting dented, all that stuff. They have super good steel reinforcement, so that one really makes me happy. This mag testing wouldn't be complete without a drum. So this is admittedly a KCI drum. I don't know if you guys can see this here up front, the front lug. I believe I won this thing at one of the Kalashnikovs I went to, and I didn't have a drum at the time, so I was like, what the hell, I'll keep this thing. I tried it out in a Wasser, so makes sense because this is also a Romanian gun, and I had issues because the front lug would allow the mag to tip forward, and it would nose rounds right into the front trunnion, and it wouldn't feed well. So basically I built that front lug up with my welder, ground it down, and then I had no issues out of it. So we'll see how well it fits in here. Went in pretty good. Pretty good. So I'm pretty excited about that one. Eventually I do want to get a Romanian top loader or something better than this, because this is not great. To be your rivets. So got this guy here. Got, I can't get anything underneath that, so that one seems to be pretty good. This one's good. That one seems to be pretty good. These rear trunnion rivets, let me get myself out of the shadows here. That one seems to be pretty good. So a lot of times, these being a long rivet that goes all the way through the receiver, these things typically will not be crushed all of that well. So, but this one seems to be pretty good. So we're gonna look, all right, so we're gonna look at the rivets over here on this side. That one probably could have stood to be crushed a little bit more, but the main thing is we don't have any gaps. So it was fully crushed, so that's what we want. This guy here seems to be pretty good. This one here, it's a little uneven, crushed kind of more on this side than this one, but it's still not terrible. We're gonna go back here to the other side of that long rivet for this, the rear trunnion, and that one honestly seems to be pretty decent. So yeah, overall really not bad. So there we have it, brand new AES10B2 from Romania. Like I say, I've been wanting one of these things for quite a while. RPKs I think are just really cool. This is the first true RPK that I've ever owned. So far seems to be pretty good. I want to give a shout out. I did get this thing through one of my distributors at the store called RSR Group. They are out of Fort Worth, Texas. And thanks for my sales rep, Mary, for scoring this thing. For some reason they had these things marked down and I didn't manage to snag one. And I told her, hey, if you guys are gonna get more at that price, definitely let me know. It is for me, it's not for a customer, so it's not necessarily national security or it's not a national emergency to get a hold of one of these things. Well, a few days later, she scored one for me. So yeah, I was able to get this thing. It was still not necessarily cheap, but it was way cheaper than normal. So anyway, we're not gonna do any shooting today. Unfortunately, this is just gonna be the unboxing overview, kind of what to expect, what to look for, and you know, how the mags fit. Later, we will do some shooting and stuff, and I'll shoot a video, no pun intended there. We'll shoot a video on that, and that'll be posted probably not long after this one. So anyway, if you like what you saw, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you like what you saw, and hope to see you in the next video.